This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today we will go through the Enneagram. Still, number up to Type 7. 3 more types, including this one. For those of you that are tuning in, I'll say it once again, if you haven't already, then go back and read. You could read The Wisdom of the Enneagram. It's a good book to read. But go back and listen to The Wisdom of the Enneagram, which was a podcast about 7 podcasts ago, which goes through and explains the Enneagram as a personality type indicator model, but also as a developmental model from both a vertical and a horizontal plane, so y-axis, x-axis. And the reason why I say it like that is because it shows the different typologies of the personality, and then it shows the levels of healthiness that we may see and the traits we may see in those typologies, which makes it a vertical. So here's a path of development, which means that this is the thing that people don't like it when different types are better than other types. It becomes segregation, right? So all types are equal, and they are. They're just types. They might have strengths, but they are all equal because they're just different. But the path of development, the vertical part of the model shows healthy levels, average levels, and unhealthy levels. So an unhealthy 4 isn't necessarily better or worse. It's just they're in an unhealthy space compared to maybe a healthy 9. It's just a different way to look at the model itself. Anyway, so that's a way to think about it. Go back and listen to The Wisdom of the Enneagram. If you haven't already done the test and you want to, then I put the link in the Facebook group, Mood Prep Online. So jump on Facebook, search Mood Prep Online, and let me know what you think. Otherwise, team, the Type 7, the Enthusiast. So those of you that know me, and if you have done a bit of research into the Enneagram, you may know that I do a Type 7 quite well. So Type 7 is the Enthusiast. So let's talk through the Enthusiast. At the average, at a general level, an overview of the Type 7. They're often quite extroverted, outgoing, they're excitable, future-orientated, they can be scattered, they can be anxious, but they end up distracting their anxiousness as opposed to trying to plan around it. But at the same time, they're often compelling and charming, but not in the same way as the 3. Charming in the same way that they're just really excited about life, but usually it's future life. So the 7 is often future orientated, and I caught up with a good friend of mine who's I would call him an entrepreneur across a couple of different industries, and he finally did the test, and he goes, "What do you think I am?" And I go, 7, 8, and 3, and he was a 7, 8, 3, and 2. When we were talking, and after I explained a few things about some indications of the Type 7, all of a sudden he started to see the 7ness in his behaviors and his thoughts. And what I was pointing to him is like, he's excited for the next couple of weeks. But at the same time, if I was like, what did you do on the weekend? He would have to really stop and think. It would almost be jarring to think about what he did on the weekend. 7s often struggle with memory. Now they can go, fuck, I don't know, where did I put that thing? What was I doing? That can often be a 7, as opposed to they know what they want to do. They know where they want to go. They know what's next. And they're the ones that end up at an average level having FOMO and always jumping from one thing to the next. And sometimes they can be at a space where they don't finish things before moving on. And a younger version of me, a less mature version of me, was 100% that. And so it was something that I really diligently worked on to make sure that I could learn to finish things and learn to stay with things. A famous example of a Type 7 would be Elon Musk. His ability to get in, be enthusiastic about it in his own awkwardly weird way, and then complete it and then move on is a really good example of the Type 7. But when healthy, when safe and secure, the Type 7 actually goes to a 5. And so they take on some of the qualities of the investigator. And what this means is that they start to really have the ability to sort of go in and think about be strategic in how they want to go about something. They don't lose their enthusiasm. It's like they start to channel it a lot better. Whereas the average 7 will be more scattered. The healthy 7 will be more deliberate, strategic, developed, and have this ability to not burn out, for one. So 7's a key to burn out, but not as much as 8's. And the beautiful thing about the 7, it's like they love chaos, but when they move to a 5 and take on the qualities of a 5, it's like they're able to order their chaos significantly better, which allows them to take their super energetic energy and channel it into just one business venture, just one relationship. One of the key things around 7s is that they often love options rather than procedures, which can give them this entrepreneurial edge. Excuse me. But what it can also do is mean that there's so many options, I don't know which one to pick. And now that I'm done with this one for a little bit, I'm tired of it. I want to go to the next one, right? And so whereas 5s, they're often very procedural based, hence where they're actually quite cerebral and they want to deal with how things work and they pull things apart and then put it back together again. And it has to be done in a particular procedure. And so when 7s go to 5, they can take on those traits. When 7s are stressful, they often take on the traits of an average 1. What this means, and funnily enough, I was speaking to my friend about this. I said 7s, when they're under stress, what they end up doing is go to the average 1 and they take on some of the traits such as this fucking super egoic voice that will be like, fucking mate, you got to sort your shit out. Sick of your shit. If you don't sort it out, you're going to be a loser. Whatever the case might be, it's this super ego just like overpowering, and it becomes an auditory digital. It becomes this self-talk. And so 7s actually have this really critical self-talk, and if they're not careful, they will continue to stress themselves actually to get to a point where they then have to take themselves seriously. Not knowing how to go to a healthy 5 to order themselves, they'll go to a stressful 1 to try and organize themselves that way, but they end up just going back to an average 7, and there's your repeat pattern. They just keep doing the same fucking thing. And so the 7 under stress really goes to that 1 and starts to try to perfect things. They channel their energy once again, but it's almost out of frustration and anger itself rather than liberating themselves through structures and plans and procedures. And so it's a real big distinction between the healthy 7 and the average, and then the unhealthy 7, although they can look really similar on the outside, underneath the surface, the intention's really different. And so the intention could be, I'm really committed to seeing this through, and I'm excited about letting this program become whatever it is. I mean, for me, a recent example is the book. I just finished the book and handed it in. It was a big procedure for me. However, the thing is that I'm very excited about it, as opposed to putting myself into a stressful state in order to have this critical voice and then berate myself about trying to do it. It's an easy example of like somebody going to a 5 rather than a 1. Even though I'm sure there was times when writing the book that I went to a 1, no fucking doubt. And that's the thing, is that we have bandwidth between these healthy levels. And so the only way that we can move up the healthy levels is by really doing a lot of self-work. And that self-work can look like coaching, it can look like meditation, it can look like a lot of developmental reading, you could look at doing particular courses and all that sort of stuff as well. So that liberates us from the often crippling traits that we've strengthened in our life that have become so strong that they're actually a weakness. And that's for any type. So there's a beauty, I suppose, of knowing the developments of a 5 in the 7, but also seeing the 7 with a 1. And the other thing I think I'd point out with the 1 is that when 7s sort of get to that point, they start to become perfectionistic again, and critical of themselves, but it doesn't last, which also then they get frustrated with themselves about it. It's really quite interesting. And then you look at a 7 with an 8 wing compared to a 7 with a 6 wing, it's really quite different all over again. But the key things to take here from a 7 is that they're usually very outgoing, very extroverted, they're very excitable, they're passionate, they ooze energy. They can often burn out from doing too many things. They often have they can be entrepreneurial minded. Doesn't mean that they have to often be a healthy 7 though to really be a solid entrepreneur. Otherwise, they never get their shit together, even though they have the potential to. Otherwise, they're just on to the next best thing. And then the other key thing I think to take away with the 7 is that they have, although they have this beautiful ability to be front of house and to build culture, if they don't sort their own self out and their own life and have stability there, that keeps seeping into the culture that they've built. So really interesting, regardless of what culture that is. It could be admin, it could be a business, it could be a football team, anything. So the offer there would be for the 7 to do the self-work to make sure that the people around them have a stable platform that they can then receive that person's energy from. But on that note, team, that's it. I am done. I hope you got something out of this podcast. If you know a 7, we all do. They're fucking everywhere. I reckon it would be a good idea. That's one of the most Aussie things I've ever said. that you would be a good idea to pass this on to them. If you do, it would mean the world to me. Otherwise, team, jump on Facebook, search Mood Prep Online, join the conversation there. I'd love to see you in there. Otherwise, team, that's it. I'm done. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick and slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.